Good afternoon. Welcome to the Advanced WMS webinar series. And today we are going to be talking about EasyOps, and specifically we're going to talk about counting your inventory with EasyOps. My name is Shanna Blackstone. I work here at VIP in the WMS department, and we're going to go ahead and get right started. If you haven't taken a webinar before, just note that we record all of these so you can go back and listen to all of them. There's going to be a ton of information. I always have probably way too much, but you can go back, you can listen to it at any time, and anybody else in your company can listen to it later on as well. They're all on the VIP support site. So like I said, today, EasyOps inventory counting is what we are going to focus on. But before we get there, I'm going to give you a few things to get you kind of rolling first. If you're not familiar with what EasyOps is, if you weren't able to attend the UC this year, the Users Conference, basically it's our new feature. It is a browser-based program that is going to basically over time start being able to do everything you can do on the RF units, everything from counting to eventually receiving, validating pallets, things like that. And it's a pretty cool program in the fact that it is browser-based. It's intended to use in Google Chrome, but you have the flexibility of really using any type of device that you want. The biggest piece is we are trying to make everything that comes out new to be easy to use. So it should be pretty intuitive. What I'm showing you here today, it should be simple to pick up after just watching the video, maybe once or twice. It is everything based on security roles in Beverage on the Web. There's not a lot of security at this moment, but as we continue to develop the program, there will be more added over time. Like I was saying, it's pretty much device agnostic, so you can use iOS, Android, Windows. We've had a lot of luck with Android so far. It is a little bit different on iOS, not a whole lot, but just a little bit different, just so you know. You can use iPads, phones, whatever you're looking for. There are many different options for scanners. I don't have them listed here. I would have you reach out to VIP and talk to your sales representative. They're going to give you the best scanner for whatever task you are looking to perform with the EasyOps program. To kind of get rolling with it, if you haven't already, you do need a license per user, so you're going to want to reach out to sales and contact them to get that license. If you already have EasyPick or are thinking about getting EasyPick, another feature that we're rolling out at VIP, it does actually include the EasyOps license, so if you haven't chatted with sales about that, make sure you do. You will need a Beverage on the Web user. You will need to have wireless in your warehouse. So for those of you who are already using RF units to count your inventory, you have wireless, you're good to go. For those of you on the line who might be counting on paper or might be using a PDA in the warehouse, you might not have wireless in your warehouse. So that's something you're going to want to look into, probably even before contacting sales, really, because it's probably going to be a bit of an investment on your part of time to get that up. And last but not least, you want to be on the latest release of V13 for what I'm about to talk about today. For those of you who are interested, we are going to be rolling out more pieces to EasyOps, receiving being one of them. We have a lot of people interested in that. That is going to be for V14. Speaking of, these are the future requests that we're going to be completing for EasyOps. RF Receive is the one that's on the docket right now. It's intended to be completed by the end of this quarter. I've seen it, looks pretty interesting. We're pretty excited to start rolling that one out. For those of you who are on the line who have location-based inventory, what I'm about to show you today really isn't going to be for you. This is for those of you who haven't yet taken that step to use that part of VIP. But in later versions of EasyOps, we are going to be developing things to replace RF task, RF vary, so basically that cycle counting by location. We are going to be developing things to replace put away tasks, replenishment, and for any of you, whether you're LBI or not, we eventually will also create a way to validate your pallets or verify your pallets, replacing RF VP verify if you are familiar with that. But in today's piece here, like I said, we are focusing on inventory, so this really is meant to take you all the way from starting with EasyOps. Some of you on the line have been using VIP's inventory procedures for a while now, meaning that you might already been using RF units. You know the program that allows you to print out reports called 5R. We're actually going to go through the whole process today. So some of this might be review for some of you. All of the EasyOps stuff should be new, but we are going to actually go into legacy and look at 5R. For those of you who have never used it, it should be a great starting point to get you used to that. For those of you who have used it, again, it's just a refresher. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with EasyOps, how to get your count into the system. So that'll be step 1. Step 2, I'll talk about how to upload that count to VIP. Step 3 will be how to use the legacy program to print the report so that you can actually compare the count you did to what the computer says. And then we'll talk about step 3A, which really is just kind of going back. You kind of going to make this circle between the report and EasyOps over and over again until you're satisfied with what that report says. Once you are satisfied, you will actually use the same program that we're going to talk about to update the inventory. So basically you're going to make your floor count match your computers on hand. And then last but not least, we'll talk about how to delete old count files, because we don't want to look through all that old stuff that's in there. You have perpetual inventory, so you want to be counting on a daily basis. You don't want to use old count files. So we're going to start, like I said, with EasyOps. And within EasyOps, I had told you before, it is browser-based, so you are going to be given a URL when you purchase your license. You're going to then sign in with your username and password from Beverage on the Web. Please remember this is designed for Google Chrome. For those of you who decide to use iOS, an iPad, an iPhone, you're not going to want to use Safari. You do need to use Chrome to get the best out of this feature. When you sign in, if you are multiple warehouse, you are going to be able to select a warehouse. Something I do want you all to kind of look at before I keep moving forward is down in the lower left-hand corner, you will see the words Step 1. I showed you an inventory flowchart a few slides back. So what I'm doing here is just letting you know what step we are in based on that inventory flowchart. Some of the steps are kind of go back and forth, and you'll kind of notice that as we move along here. But this would be step 1 if you had multiple warehouses. I'm going to go ahead and select the Colchester warehouse and move forward. If you didn't have multiple warehouses, or once you have selected one, you will be moved to this screen here where you will see our tiles. The tile we are going to focus on today is physical counts. This is what's going to replace RF count on your RF unit, or if you are taking inventory on paper, or if using a PDA, this is the piece that's replacing that. Once I've selected that, I'm going to see any count files that already exist in the system. Now, for most of you who are just starting, this should be blank. But as you can see here, I've got a couple that are already in the system. I'm going to actually create a new one by clicking on the round blue dot in the corner here. And what that'll do is take me to a screen that I can enter information on how I want to take this count, how I want to identify this count. I have the ability to enter in a name, a description, and a user ID, which I'll go ahead and do. Down below that, you'll notice that I also have the ability to enter in a date. I can change it so that I could be prompted for locations if I wanted to, for code dates. Again, not LBI counting, but some people are using these features even though they're not using LBI, just for that single count on that single day. Just kind of take note of that. So in this example here, I'm just going to have the information for my name, description, and user ID, and I'm going to go ahead and click the Add button in the lower right-hand corner. Once I've done that, I can see that my count has been created, and in order to start adding records to this file, I simply have to tap on my file, and that will bring me to the next screen where I can start adding records. Now, what you will see in the corner of the screen here, in the upper right-hand corner, is the Add tab. There we go. So the Add tab basically is saying that's the tab that we are working on right now. We're actually adding records to the file. You can see we have a bunch of different fields: product, description, pallet ID, UPC code. I could be using a scanner and scanning UPCs, options such as that. You'll also notice underneath every field is a 0/ and then a certain number. That basically is just telling you the number of characters that you can write in that field. So 0/6, I can write up to 6 numeric digits in the product field. In this example here, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually search by description. And I'm going to search for the word water. Now, I'm going to give you a few tips on searching for description. Less is always more, and that's regardless of really whatever search engine you're using, not just VIP, but the less you put in there, the more you're going to find, less well-defined it is. Order must be exact, and I'll give you an example of that in a moment here. And then spaces count. They count as a character, and they also count with what you're looking for depending on the description of the product. So in this example here, I have Shanna's lemon water. Let's just say I was looking for that particular product. If I were to search for the word water, I would be able to find it. If I were to search for the word lemon space water, I would also be able to find it. But if I were to search for water space lemon or lemon no space water, I would not be able to find that item. Okay, so just again, giving you some visuals on when you're actually searching through the system, how to make it a little easier for yourself. So when I search for water, it's going to show me any item that happens to have that word in it. And what do you know? Sparkling watermelon is exactly what I wanted to start working with. It happens to be at the top of the screen there. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on that one. And that's going to bring up the product, and it's going to bring up how I can count that product. Now, depending on what appears down in this lower section really depends on what you have set up in Work with Products. If you're not familiar with it, in Work with Products there are a few columns, particularly receiving cases per pallet and cases per tier, that if they don't have item numbers, if they don't have numbers in these columns, they actually won't appear on the screen. So if you don't have receiving cases per pallet filled in or cases per tier filled in, or they're set to 0, the only option you'll have to count is simply cases. So that's what you would be seeing on the screen here. Now, in order to input the count, it's pretty simple. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and count 1 pallet by pressing the plus button. And instead of pressing the plus button 5 times, which I could do in the cases section, I'm actually just going to tap within that field and actually can type the number 5. So it really doesn't matter. There's a couple of options on however you want to change or input your count. Once you've added your numbers to the record here, you can simply click on the Add button. And now that record will actually exist in your count file, and it takes you right back to the screen so you can start counting a new product. You also have the ability, you can see, to repeat that same product over again if you needed to for whatever reason. In this next example here, what I'm going to show you is instead of searching by description, we're actually going to search by item number. So I could do one of two things. I could, of course, type the item number in if I knew it. If I had a scanner, and let's say that I have used VIP's location labels and I have barcodes for all the item numbers in my pick locations, I could actually scan that item number right there, and that would appear on the screen. When I scan or type and I hit search, that's going to bring me right to that specific item, because obviously that's the item associated with that number. So there's my Saranac Soda root beer. In order to put in a count, it's the same exact thing. You hit the plus buttons in pallets, tiers, or cases, or you can simply click in the field and add whatever count you want. Now that was adding records. Let's say that we want to look at the existing records we have in our count file. So in the center of the screen, you'll notice that it says Counts. And when I click on this tab, it actually brings me right to all the records that I have. So far I only have 2 items. It's pretty straightforward. And you can see the number of counts located in the lower left-hand corner here. I've done 2 counts so far within this count file. Next to every item, you'll see an icon that appears, a little short stack. If I click on that right there, that will actually bring up a new icon allowing me to remove records from my count file as well. So if for any reason I counted something like this sparkling watermelon and I didn't want to include it in the count file, I can simply delete it from the file. If I need to make a change to any of the items, I can simply tap on that item, and what will happen is it'll bring me actually to that specific record for that item. If I want to change the quantity, it's really simple. Again, it's a tap, and you can see exactly what you had in there before. You can make changes. Let's say for whatever reason I had counted the correct amount, but when I went back to that product, it wasn't root beer, it was cola, and I just want to change the product and keep the count in there. Well, all I have to do again is just tap on that product, and there I can go ahead and search by item, description, palette, UPC, whatever I need to find the right product. You'll also notice in the lower corner, anytime you are counting a product, there is a button called Field Order. If you click on that button there, what that allows you to do is manipulate whether pallets, tiers, cases, eaches, how they show up on the screen, in what order. So you can simply use these up or down arrows to kind of make it set for you. At this point in time, it won't stick for the user, meaning it won't stay that way every time you log back in, but that is a new feature that we're adding in the future as well. The other tab across the top, of course, is the Info tab. So we've added records, we've shown you how to update records. Well, let's say that for any reason we had forgot to add something to the count file, meaning we want to be able to count by maybe location, or in this example here, we want to be able to add code dates to our count records. All I have to do is click on the checkbox, hit the Save button at the bottom of the screen, and then if I were to go back to my count records and click on one of those count records, I'd actually be able to see that the code date is now an option for me to update within that file. Something really cool for those of you who might not be familiar with it, there's a report from IDIG called the Inventory Shelf Life Report. We talked about it at the Users Conference this year. It's also known as Old Beer. But for those of you who want to take advantage of that, if you add code dates to your counts, you can actually take advantage of that report on particularly a daily basis. So now that I've got my records in there, I'm only going to count these 2 items. I'm fine with that. I need to be able to send that count file to VIP. So in order to do so, I need to click the back button in the upper left-hand corner there, and that's going to take me back to my count files. So I can see all my different files here. If I want to get the option to upload any of these files, I have to click on any of them, and it's not just a simple tap, it's a press and hold feature. So in this example, I'm just going to press and hold on my Shanna B, and what you'll notice is the screen actually changed. So the header above was blue a moment ago, and now it is this kind of light gray color, and I happen to have 3 more icons that I can work with. The first icon you see, it's pretty straightforward. It allows me to select all of the count files on the screen. So this is kind of a way of replacing RF merge. So let's say that I have 3 or 4 people out in the warehouse. They're all counting different sections of the warehouse. I need to merge those together so that way when I upload the information, I can compare all of the numbers to my program, or excuse me, to my computer counts. So this is the way I could go ahead and do that. In my example here, I am actually going to only click on Shanna B. You can see that I've tapped that checkbox there. And in order to upload just that count file, I would have to click on the Upload button that has now appeared in the upper right-hand corner. And once you do so, you will get a text box that appears, basically saying, do you want to replace existing counts? So for those of you who are not familiar with this process, 99% of the time you are going to leave that checked. If any of you do something called batch counting, reach out to VIP, talk about this part of the system right here because it is a little bit different for you, but most of you are definitely doing a single new count every day. You're going to be checking this box. If you're happy with that box being checked, and you want to go ahead and upload that file, obviously there's a button right there in the middle that says yes, upload. If it was an accident, you accidentally pressed it, you can obviously hit no, cancel. This is the part that replaces RF update. So no longer do you have to go back to legacy to upload your files. You simply can do everything from the EasyOps program right on the warehouse floor. So that is everything EasyOps. Everything going forward really is going to be within the legacy program. And for those of you who are already using a program called 5R, which we're about to go over, this will be just a review for you. For any of you really new to uploading your inventory into VIP, all of this good stuff, this is going to be kind of a starting point for you. So in order to further understand what you are doing, we are going to be printing out a report to basically compare what you counted on the floor, so your floor count, to a calculated floor count. And we'll talk more about what that means in a little bit here when we get into the program. But you can see the program's called 5R. It's going to be part of step 3 or step 4 or step 4 in the inventory flow chart I showed you earlier. And you can see obviously we're going to be uploading a file. We're going to be comparing it to the computer count, printing the reports. We're going to obviously want to keep editing the count file, making sure that we've counted everything maybe a second or a third time. And once we're happy with any adjustments that need to be made, we will actually allow this same program to make those adjustments for us. So we're going to roll over to Legacy now. I'm going to go ahead and show you from a menu screen. For those of you who have menus, 5R would be somewhere within that menu. You can click on the button right next to it, the little blue dot. For those of you who have FastPath, you can actually simply type in the word 5R. That stands for physical variance, and it is a program or a procedure that runs a report, but also has the ability to update your inventory. So we'll talk about how to do that. Once you've run the program, it's going to ask you to select a warehouse if you're a multiple warehouse. And then it's going to ask you what date would you like to put this in on. 99% of the time, please leave the date alone. You have perpetual inventory. You do not want to backdate counts. If you are backdating counts, I really encourage you to reach out to VIP and see if your process is most up to date. So in this example here, we're going to leave today's date, and it's going to take us to a screen where we have some options. I'm going to go over 2 options on the screen here. The most important option is this guy at the top here. So update InVen with variances. You will notice that this is always unchecked when you first come into 5R. That's important because if you check that box, whatever your count file that you selected is actually going to update your on hand. So we don't want to do that until we make sure that the computer floor count matches the floor count that we did, or if any updates need to be made, we want to make sure that those are okay. So we're going to leave that unchecked. The next option you're going to see on the screen here is list only inventoried items. So if you're just taking a cycle count of just a few items, you're not doing what I would consider a wall-to-wall inventory, go ahead and leave it checked, not a problem at all. But if you are taking a wall-to-wall inventory, you want to uncheck this box at least once. That will show you any items that you did not count. Okay, so that's important to go through. Everything else on the screen, it's completely up to you. It basically just determines how the report is going to look for you. So feel free to kind of play around with things and look at the report different ways. We're going to hit process, and what that's going to do is take us to an option to run something called SS Prepar. Now, SS Prepar is a really that is going to allow you to compare apples to apples. And I'm going to explain what I really mean in this next screenshot here. But it's going to calculate the on-floor amount because you just counted an on-floor amount, and we want to make sure we're comparing the same numbers. So for any of you who might be hitting the bypass preparation step at the bottom there or really don't know much about this, I'm going to give a quick overview, but I highly encourage you to reach out to VIP if you're not familiar with this procedure. This is super important to understand. So on the screen here, this is how we're going to calculate the on-floor. I'm going to go over it kind of quickly, but remember you can always go back and re-listen, or again, like I said, reach out to VIP. So the first option on the screen we're going to go over is on-truck loads. So for any of you doing driver sell or have drivers that add product to their truck in the morning, but basically any product that's going out without an invoice, that is still a part of your on-hand, but it's not on the floor to count. So basically we need to make sure that we calculate a proper on-floor amount because according to the system you still have that to count. So that's the first thing you're going to work with. You might often put in today's day number, maybe even yesterday's day number. There's different ways of running this. Again, if you're not familiar, reach out to VIP. Back off loads is the next option that's on the screen. This is really for loads or invoices. Loads is a much obviously broader term, but anything that has been invoiced but hasn't been picked yet. Basically, this is not in your on hand anymore, but it's still on your floor. So that would not be comparing, again, apples to apples when you actually did your count and you looked at your count file. Most of you might be putting in a day number here. Some of you might leave it blank. You just never have to worry about this option. Some of you who are running dock sale, maybe early in the morning while other people are counting, you might want to back off certain invoices that you've run, but again, haven't been picked just yet. So this is another option for you, but typing in specific invoices to select. Again, it's still in your on hand, not on the floor. We're going to move forward here. Once we've run SS Prepar, the report will then print and be in your spooled files. Your spooled files, you have a couple of options here. Of course, you can just print the report. You could email it to yourself as a PDF. Remember, this could be a very large report depending on what you're looking at. In this option here, all I'm going to do is double click on it so I can show you the report on the screen. Mine's a much shorter report. So I can see here quite a bit of information. We're just going to go over a few things that you should take note of. At the top of the screen, if it says the word edit, that means when this was run, your inventory was not updated. So again, someone just ran it to view the report. This is exactly what you should always do in step 3. Okay? If it says update here, that means someone checked that box that we talked about and they actually updated their inventory based on the count that you just did. So that's important to kind of take note of. The next thing you're going to see, it's pretty straightforward. The computer inventory is going to be the calculated on floor. That's why we ran SS Prepar. The physical count is going to be what you counted. And the adjustment is going to be how much will be adjusted. This is actually going to change your on hand by this amount. So in that first example there, you can see that Pepsi Real Sugar, the computer thinks I have none. I counted 240. So there's probably a couple of things that could have gone on. Someone could have received something but forgot to tell VIP that they received something. Or maybe I counted the wrong product and I need to go back out and check. This is the point where you're going to take that report and you're going to mark up the items that you want to go recount, and then you take the EasyOps program and you go back out onto the floor and recount. So basically you're going through steps 1, 2, 3, and 3A over and over again until you are satisfied with how this report looks based on the adjustment column. Once you're ready to make adjustments, and remember adjustments aren't bad, we want to make sure that our on hand matches what we have on floor. That's going to be the best information that we have at that time. We then go back to 5R and we're going to want to check the box now. Okay, so once we're satisfied with the update that we're doing, we go ahead and check this box off, and then everything else on the screen completely up to you whether you want to see it on the report or not. Once we've processed, we want to make sure that we had run SS Prepar exactly the way we've been running it every single time. You want to pay attention to what you're doing. Then we can go back to EasyOps, and once we've updated the inventory, we no longer need that count file. So you can see in the upper corner, when I look at my count files, I have the ability to delete that file, and this is what's replacing the program RF Clear that some of you might be familiar with after you've counted after you've updated your inventory today, you no longer need it the next day or the day after. So, a lot of information there. I realize that was a lot to throw at you, but remember you can go back and listen at any time. Here's a few things that you do want to consider about EasyOps and about inventory in general. Remember that EasyOps is not an app like delivery or sales. It is a browser-based feature. It is a URL that you are accessing everything with, so there's no downloading function. You will no longer have the ability to use the RF compare report. So if that is the report you were using in the past, it's not going to be an option. We have talked internally about changing the 5R report a little bit in the future to make it a little more like the RF compare report, because we do realize that one's got a little more information on it for everyone. Please understand how to use SS Prepar. That is so important for your inventory. If you don't understand that, whether you're going to use EasyOps or not, please understand how to use that program. You only want to update inventory after you've checked the 5R reports. I can't tell you how many times people have called me and said, hey, I've checked that box and I've updated my inventory, and I forgot to look at the report. So that's important. And then last but not least, VIP recommends you do not run 5R during a few different things. I've listed them there for you. Again, just kind of a refresher for those of you who have been running it for a while now, and for those of you who are new to it. Future WMS webinars, next month we are going to do auto assignment, which you can use with voice picking and easy pick. That's going to be how to get your pickers basically to stop relying on grabbing those sheets of paper to know what to do next. They can be auto assigned the next available pallet. So that's a pretty cool feature. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions now, and we'll see what we've got on the docket here. Okay, so let's see. Can we use this easy pick inventory count process with LBI? So EasyOps, you can't use it with LBI. It is not going to be the task base that you are used to right now, but we are going to develop that in the upcoming future. Someone else mentioned if we count an item in the pick line and then count backstock later in the count, will it add these counts together? Oh, that's a good question. So it is always going to consider the second count a new record when you actually scan that item again. If at any time you wanted to, you could go to the count column and find the last time you were working with that item and add to that existing record if you wanted to. But if you simply scan it for the pick line, count it, and then later on down the road you scan it in backstock, it's going to create a second record for them as well. Someone asked, just in general, this is actually always a good question, I entered the webinar late, how can I view the webinar again? We post all of the webinars to the VIP support site. So if you log on to the support site, there is a tab called University. You can click on the University tab, then you're going to see down below there's an option for webinars. When you click on that, over on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see Advanced WMS Webinar Series. There's a little password, so go ahead and tap on that, not URL, but that link and put that password in, and you can see any of the webinars that I've given in the past related to WMS. Does EasyOps have a feature for updating locations RF loc? It totally has an update location feature in it. I didn't go over it today. It's pretty straightforward, but I just didn't show it in today's feature. Is a license tied to a specific user, or can anyone log in to do this based on the number of licenses you have? Nope, you didn't explain it oddly in any way, shape, or form. We are doing one license per user. Remember that you can do a bit of a bundle. If you are already using EasyPick, we can bundle in EasyOps with that, but it is a license per user, or per device, how I should say it that way, per device. Let me see if I have any other questions right now. I don't think I do at this point in time. I'm going to leave this up for, I don't know, a good 3 or 4 minutes. Please go ahead and keep typing in your questions. If I don't answer them verbally, I take them all and review them, and then I send out answers to these questions that I've just answered and all the questions you might type in later on. I hope everyone has a nice Halloween. And thanks for attending the meeting.